All right, I'm here with my 2002 Porsche Carrera 2, and what do you think the problem is today? Right, it's the headlights. So I had a few incidents where I had one light come on, I had no lights come on, I had no lights. Then when I put the high beam on, both lights would stay on, and then after a little bit of time I could turn the high beams off and the low beams would stay on. So I had these intermittent issues with the lights, but when I bought it, I checked the car out and everything was fine. Shortly after I got it inspected, everything was fine. It was just maybe a month or two after that I started to see these little problems. And if you own a car like this, you don't want to be chasing electrical problems. And so my first thought is, this will be pretty expensive. What's going on here? I thought it was the actual headlight units, which are very expensive to replace. But I went online, started doing some searches, and it turns out this is a pretty common problem with these cars, where you get this intermittent type of failures on the lights or the operation of the lights. They change. You could get a variety of different symptoms. And what the problem usually comes back to is this light switch, which I was happy to find. And these are not very expensive. I just bought one online for $100. Before I did that, I was actually going to remove the switch and spray some contact cleaner in the switch and just start working it, just kind of going back and forth, that type of thing with some contact cleaner. I bet it would clean up. I think it's just these switches are old. They're mechanical switches, they have contacts inside that are sweeping across each other. And when they get dirty, oxidized over time, they start to get flaky. And some are more robust than others, but this is known to have this issue. So I think this was probably just not a great design. So anyway, I was going to do that, but I found a pretty good price on a replacement. So I bought the switch. So we're going to be doing that right now. Let me go get some tools and we'll be back. Okay, first things first, let's disconnect the battery. All right, I usually put like something under the battery cable because I don't want it to brush up against the battery and put power to the car. Okay, let's see if we can get this knob out. The knob pulls out like this, and there's a little access hole at the bottom. You want to push on it to release the knob. Okay, this is pointy, but you can see it's blunt at the end. It's a little bit wider diameter. The other one was sharp at the end. Let's see what happens with this. Okay, so that worked. Here you can see that metal. You got the cutout, but the metal is only at the very edge. So if you're trying to push here, you're not going to be in contact with it. So okay, let's take a look here. You've got this nut. Looks like a biggie, 20, 21 maybe, who knows. Let me go grab some sockets, we'll figure it out. All right, that's a 24, big socket. So now, let's see if we can see this. that hole you see there, that's for Torx, same size as these two. So these 3 Torx fasteners, I think, are 22. I'm gonna go get the tool and we'll figure it out. Okay, it's a T20, all right? And like I said, you got this one in here. Got a little magnet on this, so here's your fastener. Alright, with the fasteners removed, we want to use some trim tools to try to pull this piece out. And it's always a challenge when you've never removed the trim piece before, or you don't know how it's being held in, where the fasteners are. And of course you don't want to damage it. And you hear those noises and you always cringe, right? Alright, let's see what we got here. Okay, another click. Alright, so we're only going to be able to pull it out so far because we've got a couple cables holding the ignition switch. So let's lower this. We'll be back with a different view. I'm going to try to capture all these views. And right now I'm looking down. And if you see this wire right here, that I think is the power for the outer ring of the light switch. So when you put the lights on at night, it's the dash, the circle around the light switch that lights up. So there's a connector in that foam right there that needs to be disconnected. So I'm going to try to do that right now. You can see it right there. I can feel the connector. It's inside the foam. But you don't really have a lot. I don't really have a lot of access to it. So here's my thought. Okay, see, here it is right here. That's the cable that lights up the outer ring. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside for now. Let me try to disconnect the switch so I have more room, and then maybe I can get at the connector. Okay, so how do you disconnect the switch? Here's the switch. The socket is this black part. The red is the switch. Just for kicks, I'm going to see if I can separate it. Yeah, see how I just separated it there? Let me go the other side and do that. Okay. All right, so we just released the switch from this socket. So here's that cable. And now can we get at the socket? Or the clip? It's in here. And you know, this stuff is all sticky and the adhesives have broken down over time and it's pretty gross. That's why I have the gloves on. Okay, you can see this. All right, just released it. Okay, so here we go. Let's go over to the bench. Okay, here's the lighted ring. That has to be removed, from what I understand. Okay, and the way it's removed is, here's a tab here, here, and here. Okay, so separating them and pushing down on it at the same time, push the ring out, see? Okay, so now we can see how this is gonna release. We have to turn it, right? So these wings line up in that recessed area like that. Okay, let me get the new switch. All right, here is the new switch. And what I did here is I just oriented the shaft. There's a little slot on the shaft. So I know I've got the right orientation. All right, so that's good. This is only going to go in one way because of those 3 clips. This switch, or the connector here, has to be in that open area. Okay, so it's got to line up properly. Okay, like that. And this should click if I push down here. It might be a little off. Yep, I was just a little off. So see? So that's centered. That just clicked. We've got our new switch in, so let's go back to the car. Okay, here's the socket right here. And the orientation is the same as when I removed it. So everything should line up. That it's only going to plug in one way, but you know, once I connect this wire, I'm not going to have a lot of visibility. So let's do that first. You can see this is the lighted ring. See if we can get this foam back over it. It's so tacky and the foam's breaking down. It may not. Okay, you see it? Good enough. So it's all by feel. You can't see anything, but I can't either, so we're in the same boat. I can look up, and I'm just about flush, so I've been working that switch on. Okay. I look down in there. I can see it's flush. So let's see if we can get this trim piece back on. And actually, I want to show you something too while this is out. Remember we were trying to release the trim? There's one clip right there, okay? So if you came in with your trim tool on there, you'll focus everything there. That'll pop. The other one is right here. Right there, okay? So those are the two clips that retain this trim piece. So had I known that, it would have been easier. Okay, let's try this again. We're gonna line up the light switch first, make sure that we're good there. Okay, so we're back in. Now before I fasten it, I'm putting this retaining nut back on. The action actually feels stiffer. Just FYI. Okay, let me connect the battery and we'll see if the lights work. Okay guys, success. Both headlights went on. So the trim's, I'm just having it secure in those 2 points. You heard it click. Yeah, so both lights went on. The car's cold. It hasn't been running. That really hasn't happened ever, because what would happen for the last few months is you turn the light switch on, maybe one light would go on, and you would start out. I'd put the high beams on to get both lights, and then if I switched off the high beams, after a little while I would usually get the 2 lows on. So they never just went on by turning the switch on. So to me, that's got to be success, because I don't think that's ever happened. All right, so just gonna snug these, clean up the trim because it kind of got marked up, and we're done. All right, so hopefully this helps if you guys have the same problem.